Welcome to Understanding UTM Tracking Codes for Improving Attribution. My name is Christopher Penn, and this is a quick talk we're going to go through on how to use UTM codes, why they matter, and what to do. So first things first, UTM codes are part of the bigger puzzle of attribution. And attribution is really straightforward. It's all about what gets credit. When we're doing our marketing campaigns, particularly digital marketing campaigns, we want to know what's working. What's generating results? What is bringing in the most money? What is spending the least money? And all of that comes through attribution analysis, which is built into many tools like Google Analytics, Google's attribution product, and many others. The challenge with attribution is that it is only as good as the data we put into the software. If we put in bad data, then the attribution models we get out of it are just as bad, right? So we must have good attribution models, and we must have good data feeding those models. Without the good data, can't have anything else. That's why we're talking today about UTM tracking codes. What are these things? What are these UTM tracking codes? Just as a bit of trivia, Google in 2005 bought a package of software from a company called Urchin. Urchin made the really expensive software, and part of their software were these things called Urchin tracking modules. When Google bought it and renamed it Google Analytics and gave it away, they kept that nomenclature. Let's talk about what happens when Google Analytics receives data. In the first example here at the top, Google Analytics sees a visitor come into, just like this, with a plain URL and says, I don't know where this person came from. In your Google Analytics, this would be a visit that comes in and is categorized as direct traffic, no attribution whatsoever. Google doesn't know. If this is coming from, say, like an email or an ad, that's really bad because it means that, well, we're spending money and we don't know if it's working or not. In the second example, in the middle, there's this what's called a URL parameter. Right? There's a little question mark, and then there's some code and some numbers there. That is a Google Ads click. So Google is saying, Google Analytics looks at this and goes, this person came from a Google ad. So if they do something valuable, if they fill out a form or they buy something, I'm going to give credit. I'm going to give attribution to Google Ads. At the very bottom there, really tiny text, that's what Google sees when somebody clicks on our website from a Google search result. You can see that the actual URL is in there. And when they get to our website, it'll clean itself up to look like the version at the top. But for that, just before that happens, Google Analytics sees that really long, ugly piece of code. Google Analytics knows this person came from search. And so if they do something valuable, Google Analytics says, I'm going to give credit to organic search for that conversion, for that purchase, for that valuable activity. Now, this is Google's order of operations. Here's the challenge. After this, Google has to start guessing. We don't like it when Google guesses. So that's where we introduce things called UTM tracking codes. And these are 5 different parameters. A couple of examples here. This one we're saying the source, the UTM source is from Facebook, and UTM medium is social. So if I were to share this link on Facebook in a Facebook post, when that visitor came to my website, Google Analytics would say, you're telling me this person came from Facebook, right? And it's social media traffic. Like, yep, that's what I'm telling you. So I'm adding these codes onto a link I share on Facebook and encouraging, when people click on that link, when it comes to my site, Google Analytics says, okay, I'm going to give credit to Facebook. In this next example here, we have one where it's the source is Inbox Insights, the Trust Insights newsletter, and the medium is email. And Google Analytics, again, sees this and goes, okay, this is a visitor that's coming from your email newsletter. So if they do something valuable, I'm going to give credit to that. Now, here's what's cool about UTM tracking codes. Because they're part of the URL, if somebody copies and pastes this thing out of our newsletter and then goes and posts it on Twitter, for example, Google Analytics would say, well, hey, yeah, I can see there's traffic coming from Twitter, but this UTM code says it originated from your email. So I'm still going to give credit, if the person does anything, I'm still going to give credit to your email newsletter. Here's the easiest way to remember the purpose of UTM tracking codes. Forget the history and the name. It stands for You Tell Me. When we put together UTM tracking codes, we are telling Google Analytics, here's how I want you to understand this traffic. So anytime somebody says, what should we be doing with tracking? UTM codes. Google Analytics, you tell me. That's what we're doing. So there are 5 different kinds of these tracking codes. And let's talk about each of these because 2 of them are mandatory and 3 of them are nice to have. There's 5 different kinds. The first and the biggest, broadest category is the medium. Is it social, organic, email? If you go into your Google Analytics, you will actually see those general categories in various parts of the application. And the medium, if you're going to use UTM tracking codes, the medium is one of 2 that you must use. And if you don't, Google actually won't know what to do, and it will not give any attribution at all. So medium has to be there. And it really is. What's the broadest category? You can think of it like a channel, for example, like social media. Not granular, not detailed, just the medium of social media or email. The source is next, which is what specific named source is this visitor coming from. If the medium is social, maybe the source is like Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or wherever. But it gives you a little more detail about that medium. And the reason these 2 are separate is so that you can roll up and group all your social together in one medium report. Or you could drill down and dig into the sources. Now, there's 3 more tags that give you a little bit more detail. The campaign. What campaign should this visit be associated with, if any? What piece of creative for the content, the UTM content tag, should be associated with this visit? And then the keyword. This is especially used in Google Ads, but you can use those fields as well. These last 3, they are not mandatory, but they do, if you want to, you can put in a lot of extra details to help really separate all the links that you're sharing. Remember, UTM tags are always in lowercase and should never use punctuation other than an underscore or a hyphen. Keep that in mind. So let's look at an example. Here we have a visit. So this would be tagged UTM medium social. And we shared it on Facebook. So you tag it UTM source Facebook. Now, if we wanted to, maybe this was a post that we were putting up about a selfies campaign, we would put a UTM campaign tag in called Selfies 2021. And maybe there's a very specific picture. Maybe we've got a whole bunch of different creatives. So I want to specify it's UTM content. This is Selfie 17. And then maybe if I'm going super granular and I want to track day by day, I might even use the date as a keyword. And in Google Analytics, then I could find all my traffic that was social, drill down into the Facebook traffic, drill down into the Selfies 2021 campaign traffic, drill down into the Selfie 17 traffic, and get a sense of what's working when. Now, again, you don't have to use these last 3, but you can see how if you were to put this on a URL on Facebook, it would give you a tremendous amount of data about that particular Facebook post and its performance, which is a great way to track granularly what's working and what's not. This becomes really important when you're doing things like, again, paying money, Facebook ads, Twitter ads, YouTube ads, because you want to know exactly which creative, which campaign, which keywords are working best. Let's look at a few more examples. In an email newsletter, I might have the medium be email, and then the source be the name of the newsletter. And maybe the campaign, the issue number of the date. So I could see the newsletter overall and then drill down into individual issues to see, hey, this issue did really well. Google gives some automatically, like organic in Google. That would be an example of just a source and medium with nothing else assigned to it. If I was boosting a Facebook post, I would want to post that post with these tags. So as a paid social post, maybe as a travel post, things like that. An affiliate, if we're giving our links to affiliates, we might want to specify, hey, this is from the Share Sale affiliate program. That's our December special. It's banner 15. So we want to, again, give our affiliates this very detailed code so that we can track which affiliates even might be coming from. Some sites like the New York Times will show up as referral traffic. Popular blogs, also referral traffic, and we'd see that in the source medium. And maybe if you're going to pay a blogger or an influencer, you might want to, again, use that same syntax to help you understand exactly what did this publication or blogger or whatever do for you. Generally speaking, traffic coming from other places will typically only use that medium and that source. But traffic that you create from ads or emails you send, organic social media posts, paid social media posts, should have a medium, a source, and at least the campaign set in the various tools you use to create and distribute content so that you know what's working and you can dig down, you can drill down. Google has these standard definitions for sources and mediums. You can see what they are. If some services specify a source and medium, for example, a lot of social media posting tools will automatically set UTM tracking codes, and that's not a bad thing, but you just want to make sure they're aligned with what Google understands are actually the case. Tagging a social ad, for example, with a medium of CPC or PPC, which is something a lot of people do, tells Google Analytics to treat it as paid search, right? And that's bad because then when you run your attribution reports, you will see that, hey, our social ads aren't performing at all. Well, yes, because Google understands that paid search comes in as CPC or PPC. So what would you use instead? You would use a source, a medium of paid social, perhaps. You are not limited to just what's here. You just have to put in and stay consistent with the different mediums and sources to make sure that Google consistently knows what's going on. Now, to add just a little bit more detail, it isn't just a free-for-all. The moment that a visitor hits your website and they're carrying all those tags on their URL, Google evaluates them all and does its best to try and figure out what's happening. Google Ads, of course, it's going to take care of itself first and identify Google Ads traffic. Then it's going to look for other paid campaigns as sort of step 2. And then UTM codes are the third thing it looks for. If you go into your Google Analytics and you've got a lot of direct traffic or you've got a lot of unknown traffic, it means you're not using UTM codes enough, right? You are not telling Google what to do. Remember, UTM, you tell me. You're not telling Google what to do. And then it obviously goes on and on and on. But the warning sign, the canary in the coal mine, if you've got a lot of traffic that you don't know where it's going, it just seems to disappear or shows up as direct traffic, it means you're not using UTM codes enough. You need to be using them all the time on anything you post outside of your website. So let's look at some of those guidelines in more detail to make sure that your UTM code usage is successful. Number 1, be consistent. Use the same codes every time. So don't use Facebook in one post and then FB in the next post and FBIG in the third post. If you have got a site that you're working with, that you're posting content on, be consistent. You don't have to rigidly stick to one rule and one rule only. No Facebook post may ever use anything other than Facebook, but it should be documented, right? Make sure that you're consistent in your tags and develop an agreed upon nomenclature and stick to it, right? So if the ads team is using FB and the organic social team is using Facebook, get everybody on the same page. The easiest thing to do is to develop a spreadsheet and just have it shared among teams. Like, these are our common definitions. We make sure that we're always using Facebook when we're posting on Facebook, for example. We're always using email and when we're sending our emails. Make sure that you never, ever, ever put UTM tags on links inside your own website. What that does is it effectively overwrites the attribution data that the user brought with them from another site, and that means that you then lose visibility for things like what helped this person convert. So only use UTM codes on links you share outside of your website. Never put them on your own website. If you're an Omniture user, if you use Adobe's Analytics, use UTM codes after Adobe's Analytics codes to make sure they're read correctly. Google tends to look at the end of the URL first, and so you want to make sure that you're using your Google Analytics codes last. And 5, make sure you always keep your tags lowercase, right? Keep them always lowercase and no punctuation other than underscores and hyphens. No spaces, no periods, nothing. If you want to make sure your tagging is bulletproof, you may want to use a link shortener like Bitly. You would take a long URL that you've tagged in some way, for example, like this one here, and feed it to a link shortener like Bitly that will let you get a nice short link like bit.ly/something something something, and then you can use that in an email or social post. And the reason that you would want to do something that's a little more complex like that is that then another service can't accidentally or intentionally change your tags, right? So you always want to make sure that your tags are consistent. And for medium tags, these are the ones that we recommend. That we put this for all of our clients. Lowercase social for unpaid social media. paid social as a medium, the UTM medium, for any and all paid social media. CPC for pay-per-click, search ads only, so nothing other than search ads. Display for banner ads. Display would also be appropriate for like native ads. CPA for banner ads would also be appropriate. Referral for any unpaid third-party sites, so you're working with a blogger, and they didn't ask for anything, or maybe they asked for a T-shirt or whatever. You'd use the UTM medium referral. Paid referral if you're paying that blogger in something other than social credit. Email for unpaid email. Paid email for all paid email. And affiliate for any affiliates you pay to send you traffic. Those are the recommended medium tags for the UTM medium codes. And again, you can use other ones, but the further you stray from Google's accepted definitions, the more work it is for you to hunt down that data and report on it effectively afterwards. So this concludes our brief tutorial on UTM tracking codes. Remember, UTM stands for You Tell Me, and we are telling Google, here's how I want you to think about this traffic. If you got some questions, hit us up. Otherwise, we wish you the best of luck in your tracking and attribution efforts. Thanks for watching. Need help making your marketing platforms, processes, and people work smarter? Visit trustinsights.ai today and learn how we can help you deliver more impact.